But let's get to some good news. Despite the thinning roster due to departures and injuries, there's optimism for the future of the Knockouts division as TNA continues to make moves to bolster its division. One of the exciting prospects is the arrival of former WWE star Xia Li, now known as Xia Zhao. A teaser video aired on Impact this week, showcasing Li's debut under the TNA banner. The clip, which featured former NXT star gesturing towards a roaring fire, set the stage for her impending arrival. Li's unique blend of martial arts and wrestling experience makes her a highly anticipated addition to the Knockouts roster. So when I wrote my article earlier this week about Giselle Shaw's departure, I threw down 3 names that I was like, TNA needs to sign today. And the 3 names were Megan Bayne, Xia Li, and Zeta Steel. I asked around and did a little research, and those were the 3 names that I came up with. Was like, hey, look, these 3 people could probably help turn things around immediately. And sure enough, Xia Li was featured on Impact this week, and it looks like she's coming in. When she's coming in, I just don't know. Now I did that, and then on Tuesday, after the news that Giselle had been granted her release, I made a challenge to TNA. In fact, I went to Twitter and I said, we need to start putting pressure on TNA to sign more knockouts because this is getting bad for that division. The fact of the matter is they have a knockouts tag team division and they only have 2 tag teams. And one of those tag teams is probably splitting up soon. So that's weird. And as of right now, we all see that Jordan Grace is leaving, and they have nobody set up. They've built, like, it doesn't mean that they don't have a talent that could probably take her place. They have just not built anybody up to that level that I feel confident, like, hey, this person would take the place. And I'm even talking about Masha Slamovich. In the ring, Masha can go, and it's probably, like, as far as bell to bell, it's probably even better than Jordan. But she does not have the star power or the charisma that Jordan possesses, right? Like, look and aura is very much a part of what being a top star is, and I just don't think Masha's there right now. And I think part of the reason why it's not had anything to do with her or her talent is because of the way she's booked, right? She's had some title shots she's always lost, and she's been kind of a mid-card act ever since, and now she's in this tag team, which I like the tag team act with her and Alicia Edwards, but that's just like nobody cares about the tag team division. Like, TNA doesn't even care about the tag team division. It's just their excuse to get more women on TV. That way they don't get yelled at, right? Like, that's what that is. If they actually cared about it, then they would have more tag teams, but they don't care about it. So I threw down the gauntlet. And Xia Zhao, I think Zhao is the name, was one of the talents I suggested. And next thing you know, she's coming in. Now, I don't have any evidence that I did this, but I'm taking full credit. I hope you guys know this. Me putting pressure on them the last few weeks on my show, and then, of course, BQ putting out a video doing the same thing, and then me going to Twitter. And next thing you know, like literally the next day, Heather Reckless, PW Insider, looks like Heather Reckless might be signing. And we get that information, which I'll talk about in a minute. And now we got Xia Li. I'm just going to call her Xia Li until we figure out what her name is on TNA. Next thing, now we got Xia Li, one of my top suggestions, coming in. I'm not saying I get full credit, but I get full credit. So if this Knockouts division starts turning around, I want you guys to go ahead and let TNA know, and the TNA faithful know that I did this. I single-handedly rebuilt the Knockouts division. Okay, I'm a little bit full of shit, as you guys know. So Lee is the first Chinese woman to compete in a WWE ring. She brings that. Her past accomplishments in NXT and main roster, as well as a global fan base, signal that TNA is serious about reinvigorating its women's division. So I think one of the reasons why Lee got cut is I think that she was knocking the shit out of people. And so it was tough to work with her. So hopefully she's cleaned that part up. But she's been doing all the indies, and she looks great. Got a great gimmick. I hope they don't bring her in as the 1,000-year-old woman. I hope they don't do that. But if she's gonna be a darker, mysterious character, but that just kicks ass, I'm cool with that. Let's do that. We don't need another Rosemary. We already have Rosemary. Okay, we don't need two Rosemarys. That wouldn't work. But I thought it was a dark, ominous, kind of like scary, but not science fiction character. Nothing like that. Hold on. Yeah, not a science fiction character. That's Rosemary's gimmick. Let's not go there. Let's just bring her in as a dark, mysterious, badass chick that kicks fucking heads off. That's what I want to see out of her. Um, and I thought this was interesting. Actually, hold on. Where is my Heather Reckless? Where's my Heather Reckless section? Okay, I actually put together all the notes, and I had Heather Reckless in here, but my little thing here did not keep it in. That's weird. So Heather Reckless has now signed. It's official. She's in the division. Um, she's a Chicago talent. She's been around a little bit. She worked a dark match at one point. I think she's worked dark matches for all the companies, but she worked a dark match at one point. And um, Gail Kim obviously saw something in her and brought her back. She is a pretty good talent. Like I got notes from especially the people from Chicago that see her on the indies there. They really like her. She's a pretty good wrestler. She does have a limitation in that she's 4'9". That was the one thing that everybody kept bringing up to me. She's only 4'9". She's only 4'9". And when she was on Impact this week, she was very much 4'9". Now TNA, if they're good, if they know what they're doing, they can turn that limitation into an opportunity because now she's different than everybody else, right? That could be an opportunity. You promote her. Kids, like, I know they don't really cater their company to kids, but they like kids actually like the smaller talents, believe it or not. They like the big monsters too. But with some of the smaller talents, you can like as like the underdog babyface is smaller than everybody, and that does kind of cool moves. You could market that into like a superhero type. That's what they did with Rey Mysterio in WCW. Not that she's not as good as Rey Mysterio. At least I have seen a lot of her highlights just prepping, and she is not Rey clearly, but she's still pretty freaking good. So I think this is a good signing. But I don't. Everybody kept bringing up her height as a limitation, and I would hope that TNA would be capable of turning that limitation into an opportunity and actually turning that into a positive. Because I could actually see that becoming a positive. And I think WWE did a good job with Alexa Bliss doing that. Now Alexa Bliss has a lot of charisma, and that was helpful. But they were able to turn like 5 feet of fury. Look, which is funny. She's shorter than Alexa Bliss because she's 4'9". She's like 3 inches shorter than Alexa, which is wild to me. She might be the shortest female like in TNA history. You can work with that. There's money there. I think. And I like the fact that I don't know. I'm pretty sure she got her name from the rock band called the Pretty Reckless. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them, but they're pretty good. The lead singer was the girl on The Grinch, the little girl that played in The Grinch. Well, she grew up to be a rock star, and the band's a pretty big band. I saw them in concert. They're a good band. So, and she kind of has like the same look. She kind of has the same look as her. So I'm getting the feeling that that's where she got the name. And kudos. I think you should take take some of your part of your gimmick from pop music. That's the way to go. Let's see. The boys in the chat actually got some information about Heather Reckless. Billy says, I'm not as high on Heather Reckless, but they need depth, and she's very, very small, but I can see her in a tag team maybe with Zaya Brookside. I would say that she needs to be in a tag team with somebody big, because Zaya Brookside is not much taller than her. I'm willing to bet Deanna made a good recommendation because she's good friends with Zhao. There you go. Heather trained at Seth Rollins' wrestling school. Let's see. And then Billy said Reckless did a squash against Ash by Elegance during the Chicago tapings. I remember that. And okay, now you guys are okay. Io says shorter than Alicia. Yeah, I think she is. I think Alicia's probably 5 feet nothing. And Danny Luna, yeah, I think Danny Luna's probably taller than her. Like, I don't know. Like, look, I'm not going to go around with tape measures and figuring this stuff out, but I've never seen any like when people bring up Heather Reckless, the first thing they bring up is that she's super small. So um it's that was like that kept getting brought up to me over and over and over again as I was learning about her. I so here's another interesting thing. So we have had now after I said all that, like again, I'm not saying I get full credit, but I do think I get some freaking credit here. Because after I laid down the gauntlet, because that tweet that I put out did blow up. It 100% blew up when I said we need to lay down the challenge to TNA to bring in more knockouts. And it pissed some people off because members of the roster were like talking about it, especially whenever the Heather Reckless and Xia Li stuff came out. They're like, "Oh, but I thought TNA didn't sign knockouts." It's like, okay, you guys noticed the tweet. They 100% noticed the tweet. Okay, so now let's see this. Now more information's coming out. More people are talking about that. Let's go to this tweet here. This person, Julia Mexa, Julissa Mexa, dare to cross the line, but get ready for impact. Here strength comes with attitude and plenty of glamour. So there you go. She's got a pose here, and then of course she's showing off the bits here. Now, who is this person? Well, she is actually another former NXT talent. She is Yulissa Leon in NXT. She was in one of the many releases that happened in October of 2023. She has been, I have not heard of anything that she's done since then, but she's now Yulissa Mexa, and looks like she's teasing coming into TNA. And so I did ask around. Well, I'll be honest. I asked BQ because BQ's got the scoops, and he was able to get in contact with his source, and I'm sure that he's gonna have a video on this, so I'm not gonna like scoop him, but there's more coming, and they are constantly actively trying to bolster this knockouts division. I just don't feel like they're being aggressive enough, to be honest with you, and that's been my thing. Is like I know for a fact they want more talent in that division. They're just not signing anybody. So I'm like, they got to be more aggressive. And that's been my knock. And you can't tell me that you're trying to sign people unless you show me evidence. Well, now this week they have shown me some evidence. And now this week they're telling people like, hey, like talk about possibly coming in. Like let's start teasing this stuff, because now our fan base is starting to think that maybe we're being lazy on this division. And now they've actually started to build a little bit of excitement around the division, and I think that's a good thing. Okay. But that's why we got to keep the pressure on. So good sign with Heather Reckless signing and Xia Li being, obviously coming in. Doesn't mean that she signed. It could be a per date deal. Could be another SDL situation where it was like, okay, we're going to sign it for 3 months, and that way people get excited. I'll swig of coffee. But more talent are coming, and so I would say it's if you see a talent doing a squash match on TV or a squash match on Explosion, kind of like a local unnamed indie talent, I think it's safe to assume that's a tryout match for that person, and they're probably going to be getting some constructive criticism afterwards. And then if they come back and they get signed, you can tell that they probably heeded that advice. And if they never come back, then either A, they got signed by somebody else, or B, TNA just was not interested. But let's not rest on our laurels here. Let's keep putting the pressure on them to sign some more people. One of the names that I suggested was Megan Bayne. I still think they should sign Megan Bayne. I did get word that Megan Bayne is very into her relationship with Joey Janela. And I think we have to question her judgment a little bit. But she's been doing a lot of stuff on GCW, and that's she's just very into her relationship with Joey Janela. So I don't know that they'll actually be bringing her in. But she did do some like she did wrestle Jordan Grace a couple of times here recently. So TNA has that tape. So I'm hoping that she is one of the people that gets brought in. Another name that was suggested to me is a lady called Zeta Steele, and she's been working in Marigold, but she is not signed by Marigold, and she is somebody that's on a lot of people's radars. And I was able to go online and actually, because somebody just texted me, I was like, hey, you need to look into Zeta Steele as somebody that could probably come in. So I looked into her, and she's very good. So I think she's not top tier yet, but she's still good. Like I think that she's somebody that would be something that could like bolster this roster, fill out the roster. We at the end of the day, we need bodies that got some talent, and then just let them go and do their thing, and then see who rises to the top, right? So I think Zeta and Megan Bain are two people that absolutely could do that for this company. Um, and there's lots of other talents, and I don't want to go sit here spending the whole podcast just naming off different independent talent, but you guys catch my drift. The Knockouts division needs some TLC. I'm glad that they're starting to bring people in, and things are on the things are looking good now. Let's talk about Kylie King. She tore ACL in December. She had surgery in February, I believe, and I think that she'll probably be back by the end of the year. So that's good news. Um, a lot of people say Kylie King could be the one to replace Jordan Grace. I'm not quite ready to say that yet, and that's not a knock on Kylie King. She's very good in the ring. I have not seen. Look, there's a big difference between a top star and a good worker. Okay, good workers. Like I said, Mike Bailey's a great worker, right? Mike Bailey's not a top star. Okay, a lot of people are good workers. Most everybody that you're seeing on TV nowadays is a good worker. They're just not stars, right? There are very few stars in the business. Jordan Grace is a star. So Deonna Purrazzo, I felt, was a star. She has not been a star in AEW, but when she was the TNA champ, I felt like she was a star, right? She had star power. When she walked into a room, people took notice, right? Like that means something. And then once the bell rang, she was still very good. A lot of people, they walk into the building and nobody cares. But once the bell rings, they're very good. There's tons of people like that. And I feel like Kylie King's that person right now. That doesn't mean that she can't become a star later. That doesn't mean that. I think that she can. But I'm not really ready to say that she is the replacement for Jordan Grace. Um, Replacing Jordan Grace is going to be easier said than done. All right. Before I get to the Impact, recap. Before I get to the Impact recap, let's go ahead and get to the chat here. Billy says strength is a bigger issue than height. Your offense is severely limited if you can't lift anyone. Look, it's fake. They could just lift themselves for her. Let's see. Billy says Ulissa is very good, and she's the type of talent that can thrive in TNA. Targeting trained, fired WWE talents is a great strategy. Look how Deonna did. It's been hit or miss for them. I am of the opinion I would like to see them get some of these talents before they go to NXT and kind of start grooming their own talents. I like the ace and base strategy. Instead of waiting for people to get fired from WWE, I would like to see them just get out there and recruit people on the come up. Kind of NWA is doing that. NWA has a lot of talent, Most of them are not very good. But they're grooming them to become TV ready. And I think TNA needs to get some of those types of folks and start getting them TV ready. That doesn't mean they need and I think that they really should start using Explosion more. And I know that they may not just have the budget to do that, but I don't think that you would have to spend a lot of money on some of these folks that are coming up that might not be completely TV ready, but are like getting close. And so you start locking them in early. and then building them up. I mean, I think that's a good strategy. Billy said, bring in both Janela and Bane. Then I honestly, Billy, I would be happy if I never see Joey Janela again in my life. He's not a good wrestler. He's not. I could not stand seeing him on AEW. Although I did like his match with Kenny Omega, but I'm just a big Omega fan. Let's see. Oh, Io and Billy both like Zeta. So yeah, Io says Zeta. Yep. And then Billy saw Zeta steal at MLW. She can talk also. Alexa Bliss type. So she probably looks very similar to Heather Reckless. So, and then Io says Gail is high on Kylan King. So we'll see how she comes back into the fold. And then good observation on Explosion. Some enhancements guys stood like Zion, for example. And then Io says GCW becoming to Hawaii. Ain't you going to see Joey? I when I committed to going to that show, I forgot that my wife was about to have a baby at the same time. so I'm very much, it's going to be very much a daytime decision. So day of the show, if everything's good and my wife is in a good healthy place, baby's doing fine, and my daughter's doing fine, I might end up going, but I'm not gonna commit now because I got a lot of personal things happening. So I got other priorities in my life.